Yeah.
Okay. Hello, it's Dr. Regina, and I want to know from you, have you ever been bullied? And if you're like me from the generation, you probably have, especially if you fall in the nerd category, not necessarily the sportiest person, at least when I was younger. And then over time, it kind of changed where you're not being bullied anymore. Now you're being praised for some of the work that you've done. That's always cool if that's the way that it ends. But I want you to skip to the end, skip to the end, and now here we are in the 2020s, right? 2026 to be exact, and we have an epidemic of bullying. And now it's not just regular bullying, it's also cyberbullying. So just to bring a little levity to it, I started going online and looking up some very famous bullies, people that we actually have laughed at their tactics, have laughed at what's happened to them, and usually we glorify when the bully doesn't do so well. So when we think about it, when I think about bullies, I grew up with The Simpsons. Okay, don't judge me. Grew up with The Simpsons, and I think his name was Nelson Muntz. He was a bully that was like, ha ha. Every time something happened, and he would bully a person, or they would fall or trip or do something wrong, he would stare at them and go ha ha. And I'm sure he got his comeuppance at some point. But I think it's very interesting that I've actually started seeing more movies lately where the bully, once confronted, goes from being the bully to being the ally. And I see that a lot with physical bully stories, usually stories that are talking about things from back in the day. I don't see that as much with the cyberbullying. And I think there is a significant difference between the cyberbullying and the regular bullying, because it's something different about confronting a person face to face. We don't have the courage, the keyboard courage that we don't have that in face to face bullying. And so I just want to give this as a little bit of a public service announcement, but also have you start thinking about a couple of things. For those that say that cyberbullying is not as bad, again, three things I want you to think about. Number one, a person that's going to do in your face and the in your face bullying, they literally have to be face to face with it. And so that actually gives the person that they're bullying the opportunity to kind of clap back a little bit. And it gives them experience over time and sometimes allies over time in real person to stop them from the bullying or to teach a lesson. And we've all seen a movie or a show, raise your hand, put in the comments if you've seen a movie or a show where the bully got, right? Where the bully had something happen to them in person that changed the course of the relationship and they learned their lesson and they stopped bullying. You don't see that in cyberbullying as often because they're not face to face. Again, they've got the keyboard courage because it's almost like I can say whatever I want over the keyboard. And even though the footprint stays, things can be taken down. They can be quasi deleted. You can use these back channels. You're not in person with the person, so you're not getting a lot of the life lessons that an in-person encounter would have. So that's one thing I think is definitely different. The second thing is connected to that because there's the keyboard courage. Think about it. We sit behind our keyboards, we sit in our cars, we sit on our phones, we sit in these places where there is distance created, and we say all kinds of things and we think it's okay. Because again, the other person isn't there to stand up for themselves. The other person isn't there to be kind of like an in your face. And you can actually see, I've seen some patients who reminded me of this, where a person will make a comment behind them in the line and they forgot they were in person. They forgot that, hey, I'm actually sitting here with this person or standing in line with this person. And when I said that snarky little thing, oh my gosh, this is live. This is not me saying this snarky thing on a live. This is not me saying a snarky thing on my keyboard in the comment section. This is me standing in line with this person 2 steps ahead of me, and I've said something out of my mouth because my filters are lowered, and I'm thinking it's okay to say whatever it is, and I put myself in a sticky situation. So that's the second thing where cyberbullying is a little different. Because of the distance and because of the slight delay, people have gotten used to saying a lot of things that they normally would not ever say to a person's face. Not normally, right? Not unless they've done a couple things to build up that courage. The third reason I think that the cyberbullying is a little different is, again, something happens in person. And guess what? Have you ever played that game where you're sitting in a circle and you whisper to somebody and then they whisper and they whisper, and by the time it's gotten to the end, the message has completely changed? Well, in person, only a certain number of people can be in a place at a certain time, right? It's not like the entire world can be in your living room and actually in person understand and know about everything that happened, which means that if there's going to be a rumor mill or information is going to get shared, it can only go as fast as the word of mouth for the people that are in person for a current bullying incident, usually. When it's cyberbullying, whether it's you're texting it, you're recording it and sharing it, that's a little different because that instantaneously can go around the world if it gets viral within a matter of hours, as opposed to the word by word. And the other thing is the circle, it changes over time. It might start out one way for good or for bad. The story is, I sat on my mother's couch and ate toast, to I sat on my brother's mouse and ate roast. It can completely change. It rhymes still, I guess. But the context of it completely changes when it's word of mouth. When someone videos it, snaps it, records it by keyboard, it's there. It's truth. It's not fake news. It's truth. What you're seeing is really what you're getting, barring AI and some of those other things. But you get the point of what I'm making, what I'm saying, in that regular bullying, physical, in-person bullying is quite different than cyberbullying. And I think that is why our younger generation are having a harder time. Because a viral video, even though I might take it down, it can still last. And that person still has to deal with that. The new picture, the scantily clad picture, it can still be out there. And that can cause some devastating events. So for our older generation, when we hear about cyberbullying, let's not just discount it, because it's on a different level. Now that we've established that they both can be bad, because I know some people are like, cyberbullying, not that big of a deal. They both can be bad, and it can't be just as easy as, well, just disconnect your social, or don't go on WhatsApp and get out of that group, and then you don't have to deal with them anymore. The difficulty is that for a person that wants to belong, especially if the majority of the group are on their sports team, or the group is in a group that they want to be in, a debate team or whatever, the calculus team or the math team, or the person is trying to advance socially, and they're having to deal with the evidence that's found in this group chat, for example. Those are real things that are not as easily deletable or leavable. Okay, I'm just kind of making up things as I go as it comes to some of these verbiage, but I think you get what I'm saying. It's not as easy, parent, supervisor, coworker, to say to the person, well, just delete it and move on. It's a little bit harder than that. Remember, they don't get the opportunity to stand up to the bully and tell them how they really feel all the time. Yes, you can make a video and hope it goes viral and try to fight fire with fire, but it's not always the same. So what do you do if you're dealing with someone who's having these difficulties? Well, absolutely. Number one, please validate their concern. Please don't poo-poo it as, oh, it's not as bad as what I went through. It's not as bad. Just delete it. Just move on. Please. If a person is dealing with trauma and abuse, the number one thing that will help that person towards healing is being believed. Imagine a child coming to you telling you that they've been abused, and you say, oh, no, there's no way that could have happened. It's the worst thing you could do. So please don't do that with someone that's been bullied. Number two, and just as importantly, support them through the process as they are trying to get help. You may not be the only thing. You may be the parent, and no, you're not the most qualified. Let a therapist come in and help the patient. But you are the most qualified to stand there and be a support, to say, I've got you, I've got your back, and I'm going to be with you through this entire thing. You never know how important that is. And the third thing is, as you're seeking professional help, please make sure it's someone that's worth their salt and they know what they're doing. There's several places that you can go to kind of vet a person to see that if they're appropriate therapists for the thing that you're working through. Most sites are going to say, the person has self-selected to say, I have expertise in this area. For example, you're going to see that we have expertise in working with treatment-resistant depression, working with OCD, PTSD, TB, all the alphabet soups, PTSD, TBI, and autism, and to some extent ADHD if it's using interventional treatments, because we're an interventional psychiatry practice. If you look for us for those things, you already know we're good at that. If you're working with someone with cyberbullying or someone who's having those difficulties, look specifically for someone that's going to work in bullying or cyberbullying. If you cannot find that in the search engine that you're using, look for things like grief and loss or bereavement, because this person has lost something that they once had before. I hope this has been really helpful for you, and I hope that you continue to support someone that needs you. You take care. Have a very blessed day on purpose.